Lon,
There you go.
Lon is not here today, so I'm gonna be just running the meeting a little bit, and Robin's taking notes. Thank you, Robin. I'm Elizabeth Whitey, and I'm the co-chair of this group. And so appreciate all of you coming. So do we go around and introduce the camera? Okay, why don't you go?
Corinne Heiner, I'm the Deschutes County Fire Adapted Communities Coordinator and Project Wildfire Director.
I am Megan. I'm with Central Oregon Tree Experts.
I'm with Jeff Reynolds with Eagle Crest, Ricola CWP.
Les Adams from River Forest Acres.
Sorry.
Melissa Steele, Fire Inspector, Bend Fire and Rescue.
Suzanne Butterfield, Aubrey Park HOA.
Jorgensen, Aubrey Butte Neighborhood Association.
Robin Church, Three Pines HOA.
Sherry Mullen, Widget Creek Homeowners Association.
Claudia McDonald, Rim Northwest.
I am Craig Letts with Tamarack Wildfire Consulting.
I am Eric Moyerman with Sundance Firewatch.
I am Tim Bilby, my wife Linda with the Saddleback Neighborhood Association.
And like I said, I'm Elizabeth Whitey, and I'm actually with the Parks Neighborhood HOA. So the first order of business is, does anybody have any comments on the notes that were put together from the last meeting on August 15th? We have a quorum, because Robin's here, so we can go ahead and approve those. And then do we have anybody online?
Yes.
So are you writing those names down?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so any comments on the meetings from the last session? The only thing I took notes, because Robin wasn't here and neither was Lon, but I'm a little deaf in my ear. I got a surgery in June and for some reason I came out deaf. Not sure why. There's a woman that joined us last time who was very interesting, retired firefighter with, I wrote down Wild River, and her first name was Sonia. Did anybody catch her last name? And is she online? No. Okay, she was a wealth of information, so.
I can get that for you.
Thank you.
I know someone that knows her.
Okay, so I guess at that point, if we don't have any comments on the meetings, do you want to make a motion to approve the meetings, the minutes?
Unless you want to wait for Melissa's information.
I'm gonna text her and see if I can get it.
That's okay, I can catch it later.
Oh, sure. Sure, I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second it, so we're approving the minutes.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Are we all members, voting members of?
I don't know, honestly, I don't know how this group works.
I wasn't here when you got started.
We haven't.
Do you know?
We haven't made
I mean,
any.
we have like core members, but everyone else is kind of attending.
Yeah, I was just told that we're supposed to approve the minutes, so which I assume that we had a motion, I don't know.
I don't think we have to be that formal.
Yeah, Lon usually runs these meetings, so. I'm just faking it, but good question. I mean, everybody in this group is, on equal standing for everything. We just are organizing it, so.
Kevin has his hand raised, so I'm like.
Kevin?
No, hi everyone. I'm home with sick with COVID, so sorry I can't be there. But yeah, the very thing of like approving minutes and core member stuff like that. We don't have an actual guidelines for our subcommittee, but maybe we just come up with some general rules, like for approving minutes. If you have at least two core members that are present, you can approve minutes, something like that. Something maybe to think about though, just some general guidelines of kind of how we do process things.
Yeah, because we're a subcommittee of the Project Wildfire. Do they do the whole motion and we approve minutes and all that? Okay. I just assumed we'd follow whatever rules Project Wildfire is following, but anyway. Okay, we can move on. So the first item on the agenda is recruitment. Did anybody have any new members they want to invite, or any of the people that are here today new members? Are you guys new members?
Pardon,
Are you guys new members? I've missed a bunch of meetings, so I don't know.
I guess. Well, this is the first meeting we've attended,
Okay.
so.
So is your neighborhood, have you gone through the Firewise? So you guys are a Firewise neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay, great. Because one of the reasons we organized this group was to help neighborhoods become Firewise, just to, and that's part of the mentorship, which.
As Melissa knows,
And I was,
we need help.
that's okay, we're gonna work with you on that. I did have a question though, of who is kind of the HOA representative for the Firewise for Saddleback? And the reason I ask that is because in the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 people from Saddleback contact me because they were worried about wildfire. And so we need to kind of hone that in to the Firewise committee for them to go there. Kind of that one-stop shop, and then I'm always there to come out and do assessments, but I wasn't sure who the contact for Saddleback would be.
Well, we've had a whole new board,
Okay,
new thinking.
okay,
Everybody's insurance has gone up.
seems to be the motivator these days.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
Okay, okay,
So I guess Marissa
yep,
is the new president.
okay, excellent.
Have you had?
Yep, I know who
Congress?
she is, and she was one of the ones that had contacted me. I was not aware she was the president of
Good,
that, so that's good.
Yeah,
Okay,
and then I am gonna sit on that committee, I believe.
excellent.
And they were looking for volunteers at the HOA meeting on Monday. So we're gonna try to put something together.
Excellent.
I had a long conversation with a lady in Sun River. And they're doing a lot.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of potential for some really good work in Saddleback,
Right.
so I'm excited to get out there and educate and help you guys, so. I'll work with Marissa and we will get all that information out to the homeowners of Saddleback.
Okay,
Thank
and
you for
we're
being
always
here.
looking, we have that one grant that we get every
Mhm.
year. And I just kind of spaced out on this
Mhm.
last year and part of this year. But we'd like to know about some other grants that are available. Evidently, there has been some interest and maybe somebody has applied, but they haven't been successful.
Okay.
So,
Okay, and that's where we just need to have that kind of 1 or 2 points of contact to hone that all in to make sure we know who is in charge of those grants, who's applying for those grants, and
Right.
all of that, and then, but yeah, well, thank you for being here, because that does clarify some things.
Okay, so any other new members? Anybody else?
This is my first meeting as well. I'm with Central Oregon Tree Experts. I go to the other one with
Project
Korea
Wildfire?
on Tuesdays, but now knowing about this one from the head of Woody Creek over here, I was very thankful, so.
Great.
Perfect.
So, I'm sorry, I don't know, I'm not familiar with your organization. Is it a?
Central Oregon Tree Experts,
Mhm.
we're one of the arborist companies here
Oh,
in town.
you're the
Yeah.
arborist, right, okay. I'm familiar with. Great. Okay,
One more thing on new
Yeah.
Firewise interest. Lane Knowles of Southeast Bend is going to become Firewise. I've just been working with them. I'm not sure if anybody's online from there, but we are gonna do a walkthrough with them scheduled. I've done 2 educational kind of events out there and lots of interest. So Lane Knowles, and then I always get these backwards. River Wild, not Wild River, but River Wild of, which is south of Century West, just on the west side of the river, is also asking to become Firewise. So we might get some interest on mentors for them coming up. So I'm gonna do, on October 16th, I'm gonna do a presentation for them, for their HOA about what Firewise is and kind of get them all plugged in. So those are the 2 new ones that I have.
that's great.
Do you do those meetings here, or do you do them specifically for them?
Specifically for whoever asks, and then usually for the HOAs, I'll come and do like an hour presentation. It's usually about 30, 45 minutes, and then I leave it open for questions.
Okay.
But that's where all the rumors of Firewise and all the, expectations that people are thinking, we actually can just educate people and say, this is actually what it is, and this is the commitment. And then once a neighborhood hears, kind of that's what happened with Lane Knowles, was another neighborhood in their area became, and then they said, well, we kind of want to do that too, and then we kind of want to. So yeah, we could do a big event, or I can go to each separate HOA, whatever works.
I have clients that ask, so that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Okay, and is there anything under education? It was somebody's name who came up, I saw it in the emails.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's us.
Oh, that's you guys.
Yeah.
Do we want to go ahead and do,
Yeah, we can do that before.
yeah, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, yeah, again, my name's Suzanne Butterfield, Aubrey Park HOA, and I'm on the Firewise Committee as well. And in the last few meetings, there's been discussion that we touch on the subject of neighborhood associations, and we look quizzically at each other, what is a neighborhood association? And I mentioned to Kevin that my friend and neighbor Hans Jorgensen is very familiar with the neighborhood associations. This is Bend only. It's the city of Bend. And so we thought that we'd have Bend, that we would have Hans talk to us for a few minutes about what these neighborhood associations are, for the purpose of, might there be some way that our Firewise could hook up with the neighborhood associations and get more of the word out to the 65,000 lots, you'll tell us about that, in Bend, about Firewise. So, Hans Jorgensen, just by way of introduction, Hans is the president of the Aubrey Butte Neighborhood Association. And just again, as a quick aside, ABNA is putting on a community meeting, or ABNA member meeting, October 1 at the River House. And Firewise is the subject matter, or dealing with wildfires is the subject matter. And that's, Hans is was past president of the Neighborhood Leadership Alliance, which is all of the neighborhood, all 13 or 16? 13 neighborhood associations in Bend, representing 65 or 1,000 properties. So, Hans, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Okay,
And
I'll let you pass those right.
I will do that.
And
this is going to, I'll give it to Corinne, who will email this to you in Word.
yeah, 5 for the other side.
Yeah.
I should reach over here, and then if you don't mind passing this down, I think we'll be good. All right, thank you. So not knowing the audience, some of this might not be relevant, might be things you know, might be things you don't know. Hopefully there's something here that's new. And I kind of address this as the idea that neighborhood associations could be a resource to this group, one or the other. And in that, by the way, in that October meeting, when you're talking about insurance, we have an expert talking about how the insurance landscape is shifting quickly. So that's an issue for everybody, I think, in the room. Quick background on neighborhood associations. It came about around about 2000, 2001, 2002. City had many residents coming to council meetings and sensed about land use. And the city said, well, we can't handle this. We got to figure something out. So they said, oh, we'll have neighborhood associations and everyone will have a land use share. The land use share will help people understand what's happening. And that was the genesis of NAs. At a point in time, because then the city said, gosh, now we have 13 voices that all have a voice, and it's written in city code. So the city pays attention to neighborhood associations more than they will HOAs, quite frankly. And part of that is because allegedly the Bend neighborhood districts provide community members the opportunity to help shape the future of the neighborhood and the city. Certainly that's a work in process, but one of the things too I should mention is neighborhood associations are now going to be rebranded as districts. And one of the reasons for the rebranding is Lon, for instance, lives on Aubrey Butte HOA. They're actually called OA. But I, as the chair of the ABNA, will get emails saying, hey, who do I have to see about cutting down trees? And it's like, no, I'm not the HOA, I'm the NA. So in our NA, we have 20 plus HOAs. So again, the distinctions are there, but it's important to understand that if you hear the word district from any city communication, it's being used at the moment interchangeably with associations. The city website says districts commonly known as associations. So if you hear district association, it's one and the same. And if you're the kind of person that really likes to read city code, it's there for you. And there's also a Word doc that can be emailed to you, so these links will all be active. One of the things the NAs have that might be useful for this group is funding. It's limited. It's been reduced by about 40% this year, this fiscal year, July 1st and next year, June 30th. Funding's been reduced. Many of the NAs weren't using their funds. The city said, well, if you don't need the money, we've got other ways to use the money. But there's another link here that will take you to 5 things you need to know about funding. And one is that the NAs have access to additional funds in case you were to partner with any NA for messaging. They have access to additional funds based on engagement. And that is a key word. Anything you say with the neighborhood associations of the city, you want to emphasize this is all about engagement. That's the hot word. You'll get their attention. To that end, every NA is required to do an annual meeting, a general meeting for all its members, but they also have opportunities to do other meetings with other messages. And their meetings don't have to be limited to people that live within the boundaries. So my NA could choose to have a meeting and invite anyone that's interested to come hear your message, whatever it might be. The city also is in a position to offer up some facilities and some venues of no charge, like you're sitting here in a county facility. So I think there are some opportunities there. That engagement piece is big. The city is looking for NAs to get as many people registered as possible. Registered meaning I've got an email. I can send your message to every one of my 1,300 members on a review. And that's really what engagement is. Technically, if you live, work, or own within the boundaries, you're a member according to the city. But that doesn't mean much unless, the NAs can talk to their members and message back and forth. So that being said, most of the NAs, and it's a continuum, okay, some of the boards are a little stronger, a little more organized than others, some are new, but most of them are looking to increase membership. That's a big deal. And although the funding is by tax lot, not members, it is a way for you to work with a neighborhood association that's looking to improve membership. You've got content, it's relevant, it's timely, it's important. Everyone knows that fire is a big deal, right? We live in that kind of zone. So I think there's some opportunities there for you. And I have some links here that you can, through the Word doc, you can check out. But when you go to the city website, question, how many of you live in Bend proper? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, okay. How many of you know what your neighborhood association is? 3, okay, that's 4, that's 2/3, okay. How many of you regularly communicate with your NA? Okay.
I serve on the Summit West.
Okay, so you're part of the new team.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And that's a good segue, thank you for that. Because another opportunity for you to get your message across is because the NAs have limited funds, they can pool together. We did that with Summit West and Century West last fall, put on a town hall to talk about the transportation utility fee. So even though there's limited funds, that's another reason for NAs to pull together, pool their funds a little bit. And obviously many hands make for light lifting, right? So whatever you're trying to accomplish, it's better. But I think there's an opportunity there, it's symbiotic. You've got a message that's relevant, important, valuable. The NAs are trying to build memberships. That's something I think you can lever to some extent. Again, there is additional funds available to that end. Also, there are some other resources. that are useful on the city website, some of which you may have, some you may not need. You can find, if you want to get in touch with your NA specifically, any of you that live in Bend, obviously you're already well connected, but the city website has the NA contact info. There was one missing, I think I got that corrected maybe today, but for Old Bend. You can identify your NA if you live in the city, and if you don't live in the city, you can still identify every neighborhood association. If this group chose to, you could contact every neighborhood association. You could say, we have something to offer, and just start some dialogue. Often starts that way, right? By doing that, and you can also tap in if you want a messaging mailing on that same website. I've got a link here for you you can tap into the 67,799 addresses in the city. You can tap into all the addresses in each NA if you wanted to highlight an NA. That's another thing that you can do through the website. So there's a number of ways that you can start some dialogue, a number of ways that you can start now putting something together. Obviously, the topic's important year round. I think we're all a little more aware of it in the last 4 or 5 months because it's fire season, right? But there are ways that you can get that dialogue started. And in some cases, it's really useful for an NA that maybe is struggling to find good content for a general meeting. That would be a real good opportunity for them to get some content, some valuable content that everyone's interested in. So that's kind of a little more than the elevator speech. But, and I do have another engagement, but I'll stay as long as you'd like if there's questions about any of the ways you might work with the NAs on this.
We're gonna be talking.
Okay.
We're gonna be talking.
Okay.
And what, my head is just spinning right now because there's different, I guess, challenges on reaching certain communities because each community has a different hazard, right, or different challenge, especially communities that say have a railroad going through and we need wildfire mitigation to clear, near a railroad or something like that. Specific messaging to get the message out to that specific NA would be a fabulous way to talk with them, get that out, meet with them. Especially our new Own Your Zone First 5 Feet program, which just came up, which is basically a defensible space campaign for houses that are built very close together.
And we're moving that direction because
Yeah.
the city's pushing density.
Exactly. And so that's why I came up with this campaign and we're just needing some more avenues and platforms to get that word out, so.
And one of the things the NAs can do for you, I'd like to tell you that all the NAs have large members. Sadly, that's not the case. The city's metric is how many members do you have compared to how many tax lots you have. We have 2,676 tax lot and 1,300 members, so 50%, if you will.
Could I pause for a second, Hans, and because people may say, well, what's the difference between a member and a tax lot? And I can attest to within AVNA, they periodically say, are you registered yet? In other words, have you sent them your email and have you created a password? And if not, you are not a registered member. And you know how people are, they just ignore it. And that's why you've got tax lots versus members, because you have to proactively get on your computer, create a password, and become a registered member.
Yeah, and I'm happy to say that in the 13 neighborhoods, our member to tax lot ratio is the highest by far. But any NA that's interested, almost all of them have a website, and they can advertise your message, they can advertise your mission, they can solicit help, they can solicit volunteers. So any of the NAs, even if they don't have large registered membership, they still have a voice. And furthermore, the community relations manager, who is on maternity leave at the moment and is back in November, Michaela Oliver, if you haven't, Michaela. So she'll be back in November. She's home taking care of Indy at the moment. But in the interim, until Michaela's back, Renee Mitchell is the contact. And I say that because Renee or Michaela, whoever's run the show at the time, Renee's filling in right now, helping out, but the city will be happy to advertise anything that an NA says, hey, help us promote this. We're having a general meeting and we're talking about 5-foot fire zones. And we want you to promote this. The city will do that. So you can co-promote, you can do your own work, you can have the NA do work for you. The NAs can reach out to HOAs. In case of our NA, 3 of our HOAs represent 80% of the tax lots. So that's 3 emails, and I'm touching, 80% of the people on the butte. I don't know, if you guys have your HOAs quite tied up that quick, but
It's different. How many HOAs do you have?
we have about 22.
Okay, yeah, we've got about 27.
But we've got some as small as 9 lots, right?
Yeah.
But not by intention, but it happens to be 80-20 rule. I mean, 3 of them are 80%, so the other 19 are 20%. So the NAs are in a position, long story short, they're in a position to do a lot for you, and you're in a position to do a lot for them. And most of the NAs are really trying to find ways to get more people registered, to do engagement. There's a push right now to do things that are more family oriented. That's something that's been a little new in the last year or two. Council's been pushing that. Some of those funds are intended to create those sorts of gatherings. Our experience is they haven't been effective in terms of getting members. It's kind of just, kumbaya. But it doesn't mean it can't work. It just hasn't been our experience. It could be our demographics are different too. So. Anything else? Any ideas? So,
Is there a map of the
There
13
Right.
neighborhoods? Is
So
that
when
on that?
yeah, so when you go to this city website link, you can, and there's a link directly to the map just to save the trouble. It'll open up a map that you can enlarge up to the point that you can see street detail. And it's a little like similar to Boom if you use the city's website for Boom. But anyway, you can open up all the neighborhoods, pinpoint your neighborhood. As soon as you see the neighborhood, just below that map are contacts for every neighborhood. So, and there are land use chairs there. I don't know that land use chairs are particularly valuable to you because their intention, their reason for existing is developments. They're not the arbiter, but they are, the people that explain developments. And in our case, we direct people when they have concerns about pending developments or what have you. So you can find land use chairs there as well on the same page, but I'm not sure they're going to help you much.
So the map you're referring to is on this website, the second page at the top?
Yeah.
That link?
Yes.
Okay.
So that first link in blue, that'll take you right to the map.
Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, the site's not difficult to navigate, but that's easy for me to say because I've been doing it for a few years. So I think, oh, it's not difficult, but it's like asking my granddaughter how my cell phone works, right? It's kind of the same thing.
And I will get this Word document to Corinne tonight so that, Corinne, you can use your normal channels to get it out to everybody.
And my card's attached, so, if there's something I can do to help out, certainly you're all welcome to join our October 1st meeting. It'll give you, if nothing else, it'll give you an idea. We're going to be talking about, again, the insurance, the way that the whole landscape's shifting for everybody. It's crazy in some cases. And our second speaker is a former Homeland Security Special Agent specializing in emergency preparedness. So we've got a segue from fire to emergency preparedness, because obviously we hope we never need to use our emergency plan, but that's no reason not to have one, right?
So Hans, can any of us just walk in, October 1, 6 p.m. River House Convention Center?
Yeah, and I'd like to just, if you don't mind, I'd like to limit it to this group and your significant others, because we only have so many seats. And the good news is we usually get a pretty big turnout. So we expect to fill the room. That'll be at the River House Convention Center, October 1st. Doors open at 5:30. Presentation starts at 6. We're going to try and keep everything to 90 minutes. There'll be an hour post in case you want to, mix and match and see if there's ways we might be able to help or network. And I would say the networking opportunity is something I didn't mention. It's on that sheet, but many of the NAs that work together, obviously 6 degrees of separation, right? I know somebody and you know somebody, and then it turns out they know me. But that network, there's a lot of incredible people here in Bend that have some fantastic experience. And to the extent that you can tap into that, because maybe someone at my neighbor NA knows somebody, your land use chair is top notch, for instance.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, very good. So there are some great networking opportunities as soon as you get to know some of the NAs and some of the players. So, and that's room G at the River House Convention Center.
So would that be not the hotel building, but across the way?
Across.
Okay.
Okay. And as you go in the front door, all the way to the back, all the way to the right, up the hall, but we'll have signs out.
Okay.
So it should be straightforward. But the emergency piece is especially good. This Homeland Security agent has brought materials from his consulting company, and you can look at it as an overview, but he also has, we'll be broadcasting a PDF to all our registered members with lots of links if you really want to get in the weeds with emergency preparedness. So, but if nothing else, it'll give you an idea how a general meeting can be run and how it can be useful to you and your message, what you're trying to achieve.
So Hans, did the city of Bend pay for, the River House isn't free?
No, it's not free. Yeah, it turns out that with the reduced funding, I mean, what we have found, the way we've built membership, we've tried many different things. But what really works is we have a general meeting, we have great content, we promote the heck out of it. People show up and they tell their neighbors and say, hey, you gotta get registered, there's some good stuff here. We certainly never let a crisis go to waste. So when school boundaries changed and parents were panicked and someone said, contact your NA, and people said, what's an NA? We picked up members. But what works for us are these types of events. And frankly, it pretty much consumes our entire budget because our budget's been cut. So we have to get creative. Now we're gonna have to shift a little bit and pivot on our actions because, you know, funds are limited. But yeah, that's how we use our funds. And that's why we try to make it something that's, you know, as valuable as we can for the members.
How often do you have these meetings per year?
The city used to require one every 18 months. And they simultaneously said, now you need to do once a year and you're going to need to do it with fewer funds. So it's just the way it is, right? It just means you have to get creative. And the city has fiscal challenges as well. So, but they are now required annually. And because of budgeting, most everybody's going to probably have them about the same time of the year. They have to wait for next year's budgeting before they can afford it. So typically these meetings are held in the fall and the spring. You try to avoid a situation where winter weather is going to affect attendance, and you try to avoid typically summer because people like to vacation and, you know, they're interested in other things. So you can tap into these NAs. You might find that some of them say, yeah, we've got one in the spring, we don't have any content. Opportunity knocks, right? And again, I think it's symbiotic. I mean, the NAs are a great vehicle. And because they're written into city code, they have some sway with city, and that's valuable. And you can tap into other ways for the city to promote your message as well.
So where is this room G?
So if I were to describe the convention center, you enter the convention center through the north side, and room G is on the south side.
Okay.
So you go all the way to the back of the building, make a right turn, and that'll take you, we'll have signs there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we won't leave it to you to figure it out, but
Okay.
it's on the south side of the building.
All right. On the south side of the building.
Yes.
Okay.
And obviously the convention center is on the north side of the river, so. Questions? Anything else I can do?
I have a comment. I'm super glad to see you here. I've been involved with Project Wildfire off and on since about 2006. And we've over the years strategized a lot of different ways about how to get more engagement from the city and more power to the HOAs and all those types of things. So this is a great tool to do that. And I guess my question, Corinne, I'm wondering if the NAs are regularly invited to Project Wildfire meetings, the chairs, because that would be a great place for them to come and get educated about what the HOAs are struggling with and what the agencies are struggling with from a fire prevention standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't have a way of contacting individuals like that, but they are
Anybody's
open
open.
to the public.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you will now with this document, Corinne, because all the names of every neighborhood association chairman will be there in their emails, right, huh?
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
don't-
and I can't just add people's emails to our mail list. I wouldn't be appropriate to just add people without their permission, but I can do some outreach.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that you necessarily for every 13, I don't know that you get the share directly. In some cases, contact info might be the website,
Okay,
but the official contact info is on the city website. And if old Ben isn't, if you want that, I'll get that to you. I saw that it wasn't before the meeting, I saw that it wasn't there, I reached out. And I know that Renee is aware of what their contact name is, but may not have been done just yet. Thought it was gonna get done by today, but we'll see. Good?
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
thank you
Thanks for
very
coming.
much.
You bet, good luck.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other ideas or things you want to talk about for the application?
Hi, I'm Claudia. A few meetings ago, we talked about a workshop. Anybody remember that? In terms of having somebody to talk about evacuation plans,
That was last
the
meeting.
lab, backpacks or something, what to pack. So I just wondered where we were on that.
Yeah, that was last month's meeting, and I'm glad you brought that up. So what had, I don't know if you guys see to take a look at the minutes, but, what we talked about, I'm just gonna read this to you. Several ideas for future meetings were discussed, including how to prepare for a level 3 go now evacuation. That's what you're talking about, right?
Well, other things were brought up, so whatever you have. let's-
Yeah, and so this was about setting up a workshop for just going over evacuation scenarios. For instance, like when you went through your experience in your hometown in California, Paradise. Kind of telling us, how did people get ready? What did, the actuals, not just lists and things like that. So
Yeah.
you're thinking about a workshop.
I think it'd be a great idea. I think the most important thing to know is that evacuation is a game day situation. We do not know which way the fire's coming. We can't tell you which way to drive out. We don't know what the weather conditions are gonna be like. So preparedness is different than prevention, and those lines get crossed sometimes. And so we wanna make sure that when we do a preparedness fair, like we were just talking about a little while ago, City of Bend always has a preparedness fair. Gonna pull the NAs in now so that we can get that word out, so that's great. But the preparedness fair with evacuation, or doing a workshop for this group specifically, I think we could talk about what to actually expect, how to prepare, things to know, like you might not get a level 1 or 2 first. They don't come in succession. Knowing that you are going to be going out the normal route you always come in, unless otherwise told by an official. These are all the things that, there's a lot of challenges with rumors and things like, oh, the red gate, the emergency gate. We're gonna wait by that until someone opens it. That's for us to get in while you are all evacuating one way. We're gonna come behind you and come in that way. And so these are kind of those important things, and we can totally brainstorm and come up with an awesome workshop, PowerPoint, however you want, whatever platform you guys want to use. And I'm super happy to help lead that charge. But yeah, I wasn't at the last meeting, so maybe we can talk about that a little bit later and what people are wanting, because I'm super happy to even partner with, emergency services or emergency management too, and get some of those people in to talk about that as well.
Yeah, what we thought about was doing a hands-on workshop on evacuation, inviting evacuation specialists like Nate, Harvey, firefighters like Melissa, Heather, Kevin, Ren, and this woman whose name I couldn't remember, but it's Vaughn.
That's
Sonia.
Sonia Vaughn.
Sonia Vaughn, okay.
Whatever the
Sonia.
last name, but Vaughn is part of her last name. I couldn't pronounce it either.
Okay.
I have
To lead the workshop.
Excuse me. The other thing we talked about were the county alert system. 1, 1, 2, 3, or how that works. I know I learned a lot about that, because I called, somebody, the dispatch, I guess, person, she was very helpful. But I think I know my friends have all kinds of rumors as to how that works. So I think it'd be good to clear that up.
Yeah, we can put in, how to sign up for the alert systems.
Yeah.
That is a big thing. I personally use them myself, and if you are in the alert system, there's no way for you not to know if something's happening. They email, text, and call, and then they're gonna email, text, and call once it's over. So it's a really good thing, but not to be confused with the co-fire text that you're gonna get about prescriber notifications.
Right.
Those two things, people say, oh, I'm signed up for that, but that's completely different. So maybe doing some type of workshop like that, I think is a fabulous idea.
And especially the rumors, I know my neighborhood, we had a fire up 97 near the trailer park, maybe, I don't know, a month ago, but people were very much like, well, why weren't we notified? And then I learned from the group is that, it depends on a lot of variables, wind and if it's being contained, and we must have been on a 1 or 0 level because nobody needed to contact us, but that kind of example too, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, was that the mile marker one there too? So yeah, that was a lot. There was a lot of struggles with that. And the reason is because what I can say to that is, the winds were so unpredictable that we had a north wind, then a south wind, then a west wind. So when they're getting the evacuations ready, then it just changed. And so they're working on their end to just say, next time we're gonna do this zone or this zone. So they learned some things too, but that was a challenge because that fire had 5 different directions within 3 minutes. So that was that's good to know that some feedback from that, and we definitely saw that, and they're working on that. So that is known.
Yeah, that's the reason I thought we were talking last time about a workshop, because there's so much information that you guys have or personal experience that you guys have, that some of us have.
Yeah.
That I just thought we could get together and learn a lot.
Yeah. Well, there's old roads and there's old gates and there's old things that aren't even on our iPads when we're responding, telling us where to go.
Yeah.
So we might not even see that road on there or that old gate that was decommissioned years ago. I mean, we have a very, very good high-tech, system when we get a call that routes us and tells us where to go, and if there's road construction, it will divert us, and it's very high-tech. But there's some things out there that we don't see, that people have lived here 50 years and say, that's the road I'm going out. We have to open our mind a little bit more and say, and do some trainings within your own HOAs and say, if the fire comes from the north, where am I going? If the fire's coming from the south, where am I going? It's like running those scenarios. We could run generic scenarios, but on game day, it's always going to be up to the conditions and what law enforcement is telling you guys to do. So.
And Heather put a comment in the chat saying an idea that she had was to do a virtual meeting where people can gather materials at home and build a kit together. I don't know if that was brought up last week or last month.
No.
I wasn't here last month.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So-
kinds of things that came up last time were, what should we include in a go bag for humans and pets?
Mhm.
How long an evacuation period to plan for?
Okay.
How to coordinate with family members during evacuation, how it didn't affect some of us, but some people have to deal with livestock, like what do you do with, how do you evacuate them? How do you locate evacuation routes? What public service communication options exist for evacuation, like watch duty to shoot some bullets, stuff like that. And then, when should you evacuate? Where should you go? So I mean, a lot of
Those are
this.
fabulous. Those are all great questions. I'm super excited to answer all of those.
So I don't know how to actually formulate a workshop. Like, should we just use this meeting sometime to do a workshop, or what do we? I mean, we obviously want to wait till fire season is over.
Oh yeah, we're not doing anything till we get some rainfall. I'm happy to do even like a subcommittee where we have 3 or 4 dedicated members to that, because I don't want to do a one-time, this is what you need in a bag, and then we don't revisit it again. If we're gonna do this, I think we do a really good, workshop.
Yeah.
And that's something maybe we can extend on in the future, but I'm happy to take the lead on that, and I would need some help, but yeah, that's a good winter project for sure.
That's what I was thinking over the winter. And then depending on what we come up with, it could be something useful to spread to neighborhood associations.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to make sure all partners are involved because there's so many stakeholders that are in this.
Yeah.
You know, our power companies are in this. Some people think on an evacuation, you know, I'm gonna turn my sprinklers on or I'm gonna do my well on and power's gonna be cut off. And so getting everybody kind of those key members, those stakeholders, those agencies and organizations to help with that, I think would be really good.
So Hans represented our review, right?
Yes, he's
And
the president of ABNA.
So there must be a bigger group of all the neighborhood associations,
Well,
right?
he was president of what's called the Neighborhood Leadership Alliance, which is all 13
Oh, that's what I'm
neighborhood
looking for.
associations. But the city put on pause, he told me, don't use the word dissolve. The city put on pause the neighborhood, not that, the city still funds them, but they do not recognize currently the Neighborhood Leadership Alliance as a partner with the city, but they do recognize the individual NAs.
I was wondering if that would be a venue for what we're talking about, like one big meeting of all the neighborhood representatives. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the subcommittee could figure that out, and I'll.
I mean, yeah, I think this group the coalition's a great group to, you know, Project Wildfire itself is too big, it's too broad in general to get all that information out to everybody. That's their goal. This goal is to help homeowners and, you know, neighborhood associations. And I think this is a great group to start something like that. And I think over the winter, we could get a great workshop, even if it's just a PowerPoint with some great speakers that we go and we talk to neighborhood associations and, you know, HOAs. That's a great start. We can make it look like this group. This was an idea of mine, 3 years ago? And now look, we've gone bigger and bigger. So I think that is a great idea to start that. And then we can see what it looks like in a year from now, 2 years from now. But I'm happy to help on that. Thank you for bringing that up. I wasn't aware of that.
Do we wanna see if we can get 2 more volunteers? Probably just volunteer.
Yeah, does anybody else want, so we'll take the lead on the workshop?
I will, yeah, absolutely.
Any other volunteers?
Yeah, I'll volunteer.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
And then we can also put that in the notes. for
Yeah.
Our agenda, bring it up again next month. Yeah. Since we're
Very
gonna, it
good.
only takes.
If I may make
Your budget
one other,
season.
Melissa, just sort of a point, in our Sundance group, we had the Red Cross come and do a presentation, and it was so generic, and the materials they handed out, you know, essentially gave you no guidance because it said, well, you could do this or this or this or this.
Yeah.
And I think the takeaway from the 35 people in our room was, that's nice, give us 1 page that tells, you know, what do we need to have in the kit?
Excellent feedback. Thank
You know,
you.
it needs to be boiled down.
Okay.
And if you go to the stuff that's associations publish without adding a layer of judgment, it's not as helpful.
Yep, and Red Cross would be someone else we would partner with on that. We've got some really good, some group partners that want to help with wildfire stuff that have come out with me actually on wildfire assessments from the Red Cross because they're interested. So that, yeah, I think that could get them interested in helping and kind of consolidating that to something that is more standard and not 10 pages long. Something you can hang on your fridge in the summertime.
Exactly.
Well, and that's right, because when this last meeting, you brought up the Red Cross thing, and that's what's kind of sparked this idea about a workshop of making it more hands-on versus just generic information.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. I mean, emergency management has great lists of what to pack. So like, if we grab those people, this doesn't have to be a hard project. We can get all of the resources we have and put together a really good standard, you know, consistent message.
And then Bob Foley said that he is happy to help with that as well.
Thanks, Bob. He always volunteers. He's the best. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other education ideas, things you guys want to bring up?
And again, Fran, you kind of helped me. It came out, the community wildfire protection plans. And I'm just kind of like, wow, I'd like to understand more about that, what it is. And you said that, again, Widgie's part of the Greater Bend, but I'm just curious, is down the road where we might be under Deschutes County required to have our whole community defensible space? I mean, I'm just curious how
So
this whole
the-
thing works.
The CWPPs are really documents that help us get funding mostly. So what we do with those is we keep track of projects for fuel reduction and wildfire protection throughout the county. And that, like I said, mainly helps us with like getting federal funding or larger grants. You know, when we have projects pinpointed in the document. And so we gather the stakeholders in those areas and, like the Forest Service, the LM, and also, neighborhoods, like for the Upper Deschutes River. We have the coalition over there. They're a huge part of the writing of the CWPPs and the updating. We update them every 5 years. So I think the one that Widgie is in, it gets updated in 2026.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so how would we know we're even gonna be a part of that, or?
Yeah, it definitely can be. It'll be kind of announced through Project Wildfire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I always let everyone know when we're working on a CWPP through that, because Project Wildfire it's kind of my job to convene the stakeholders, and so also part of Project Wildfire, so it all kind of goes together.
Okay. I mean, because I was just wondering if there's more meat that we can get to help get the people in our neighborhood acting on, doing defensible space, and I just thought, gosh, if there was more requirements through legislation or whatever coming down the pike, that would certainly be nice. I mean, we had somebody's doing vandalism to one of our Firewise signs, and this is really funny, but it's posted right in front of this person's house, and somebody is bending and beating the sign up. I mean, they do not want it. I mean, they're just adamant against it. So it's like how you turn the way people think about, defensible space and why we're doing this. And we still have some outliers out there. And I just thought, gosh, would this help us to get there too?
Several years ago, we developed our own CWPP for the Ridge and the Eagle Crest. And the HOA board took that in and adopted it and approved it as a guidance document that guides architectural decisions and other things. It's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah.
We fashioned it right after Redmond's our CWPP, Redmond's. So yeah, and we use it all the time.
Can you use it to drive each neighbor to follow?
So right now,
just curious.
HOA's rules committee is putting together documents to make the rules more effective.
Okay.
They're taking that RCWPP, but when they looked at it, we've decided this today actually, that some of the wording, there's shall and should and must, and we need to be more consistent. And we're gonna adopt it after Oregon State. We're gonna, once the Oregon State Fire Marshal puts out the statute or the code, we're gonna make another revision on it to be more in line with what the code is.
Okay.
So it will continue to grow and be a guiding document for the
Okay.
community.
And it looks like Kevin has something to share.
Can you share that document with us?
I think it's in the already in the
Google Drive?
If not, just let me know.
Oh,
And I'll be happy
okay.
to. It's under Eagle Crest.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment really quick on the CWPPs. So the Deschutes County, specifically the Natural Resources Department, manages the seven CWPPs for Deschutes County, 7. And then we do update those every 5 years. They were born out of the Healthy Forest Act in 2003, and they were, basically designed to be a guidance document to provide communities guidance on reducing the fire risk to their communities. So there's a few pieces to that, the evacuation route, identifying the risks in communities, and then identifying treatments that would occur. I wouldn't necessarily say they get to a granular level as far as they certainly aren't a mandating something for that. I think that's going to be more the state statute. But we do have on our Project Wildfire website, so feel free to look at what we have there. We will be updating a few every 2 years, with potentially then to combine it as one document, but separating into 7 sections. But probably the biggest thing moving forward is documenting the past fuel treatments that have occurred with those 7 and future fuel treatments. These are the kind of documents, so kind of communities can know where to go next, as far as protecting their communities more at a landscape level than I'd say
Oh, you cut out there a little bit, Kevin.
where did I
I think your mic is doing something weird.
Okay, shall we move on? Anything else on education before we go into mentorship?
I think this falls under education. I was gonna talk about it with, at the end, but, it kind of goes hand in hand. So we, as the, Central Oregon, Fire Prevention Co-op, I'm a member of that, and we have a wildfire education group where we do classes, on home protection strategies, defensible space, that kind of thing. And it's myself, Heather Miller from OSFM. It used to be Ross. It's Austin Reimer now from ODF. We've got a new person from ODF that just joined us. I'm not remembering her name, Heather, if you can remember her name. I know Heather's on. Anyway, and Ariel Cowan from OSU Extension, and a few other people that come in here and there. Anyway, we do about 3 to 4 or 5 workshops. They're 4-hour workshops. We do them in the summertime, spring to summer. We were done with them, but because of the recent fires in La Pine and that area, we decided to take advantage of all those fires and put on another workshop because people down in South County were very upset with obviously the houseless population, but that isn't part of what I'm getting here. Their fire's gonna start no matter what, right? We have lightning. You just saw that lightning bust on Bachelor and everything else. And so we thought we'd take this advantage to go educate people, and there was gonna be a good turnout. We got 5. So it was very disheartening to get excited for people. We had 25 signed up and we got 5. So we were very disappointed in the fact that we wanted to take advantage of everybody was upset and came to all the city council and town council meetings to talk about it, but did not want to sit through a 4-hour workshop on how they could protect their own property. So my question to this group is just kind of brainstorm and think how we can get this word out more in the future. Any feedback you have would be great, because that was a class that we don't normally put on, but we thought we were going to get a good turnout and meet the needs of the people down there, and the turnout was horrible. But one thing that we did add, and this kind of goes with the evacuation thing, is we added a slide in the very beginning about lessons learned. And that was something that was kind of my perspective because I live there. And so I was watching all the fires from my front porch. I had one to the south, one to the west, and one to the east, and I could see all of them. And so I was watching all of them, and I was I follow the La Pine Facebook pages and all that stuff to see. I was shocked that nobody knew where to get information. Everybody on there was like, how do I get notified? Where's the notification system? What are the apps I use? And everybody's saying, watch duty. Watch duty is about 75 to 85% correct, so everybody knows. They do their best that they can, but the best way to get information, and this is what we put in that slide, was the Deschutes alerts again. The rumor mill is ridiculous when it comes to that kind of thing. So we just talked about some lessons learned, being more prepared ahead of time. There was a lot of questions about evacuations of animals, you know. I mean, I'm a dog lover and I have the emergency vet like on my fridge in case something happens. So it'd be really good for those people to have those numbers and things, you know, ready if you've got large livestock. So I just wanted to bring that up and kind of share that with you, that was kind of our last effort to reach the people of South County, and it was a flop. So think about what we could do more. If you have any feedback for me, please let me know, let Heather know, and we can get it entered in our education group.
Is this the home hardening workshop?
Yeah, so this is called Wildfire Home Protection Strategies, and it's a 4-hour workshop. We've done it it started with HOAs and homeowners, you know, associations, neighborhood associations, but then it went to realtors and landscapers, and we started reaching out to other organizations and putting these classes on. So it's gaining momentum, but it was just interesting to see that the 5 people turn out on somewhere that just was hammered by wildfire. So it's interesting. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I took that class I think it was a year or so ago, and it's very, very useful.
It's a great class.
Okay.
This is Kevin online.
Hey, Kevin.
The Newberry partnership by chance?
Yep, she was there and I contacted her, and we are gonna work on some outreach.
Okay. Anybody want to talk about mentoring, being a mentor, needing a mentor for becoming a Firewise community? I think we're probably all Firewise communities. So if you have anything, let me know. And then I think the next item is talking about grants, and that's you, Kevin. I just wanted to say real quickly though, and I'm sure you'll say this too, that the grant application is out for the fuel reduction grant and it's due the end of this month. So, and I put the link to it in the meeting minutes. So if you got the meeting minutes for August, the link to the website is in there. Thank you. So did you want to go over grant stuff, Kevin?
Yeah, not too much to add on that. You know, we do have 125,000 this year, so a bit more than we had in years past. It's basically the same grant application that we've had the last few years. So we're prioritizing Firewise communities. You know, it's really geared towards these defensible space projects, but you know, if there are common areas that do threaten homes, that those are acceptable projects as well. Yeah, end of September, probably some of the biggest things is that might change is the reporting. I think the reporting I received last round was a little bleak as far as what people were reporting on their projects, and so I think I'm gonna require a little more for reporting as far as like how many residents participated, how many home sites were involved, a little more than a couple sentences is what I would receive. Other than that, yeah, the grant's out till September 30th. We still are planning our bin rental program next fire free season. We have potentially enough funding. I was trying to figure out what that would look like, but we have potentially have enough funding for about 25 communities to do bin rental. So we'll keep that a pretty open application, but there is a good chance that we might receive more requests than we have funding for. So keep that in mind as well. We will have roughly $65,000. I haven't got an exact number yet for that bin rental program. That'll be for fire free. There's, I think Eric Metzger has been putting out a little QR code that you can request individual grants. So we put that in the newsletter as well. So there is Oregon Department of forestry grant to apply for, at least on the list. So it's something to consider, and then, always keeping our eye for local, state, and federal grants too.
So Kevin, weren't you telling us last time that it's the grant money is more focused on the 0 to 5 defensible space for individual lots versus versus common areas?
Yeah, defensible space is always going to be the priority. There's really no reason you should be working on common areas if there is, if there's not adequate defensible space in your community. So that's really what we try and prioritize, but some folks you expand on that a little bit. So, we do accept common area treatments, but we definitely are prioritizing defensible space. And when I did that, it's 0 to 100, but like we always state, you start from your home first. You don't be out trying to thin trees in the back 40 of your property if you haven't removed arborvitae right next to your home.
Yes, because I'm thinking that some of the HOAs that I communicate with, a lot of them think this grant money is for the common areas, not for defensible space, and they're not really sure if it was for defensible space, how would you use the money? In other words, would you be hiring contractors to clear people's defensible space around their homes? How do you so I'm wondering if there's a way to put in some instructions when you give out or even, I don't know.
It clearly states that it's defensible space is the priority in the application. Some of the more common projects I see are usually sweat equity type projects. So homeowners are doing the work, getting the work done on their properties, and then they're using the funding for either renting bins or renting trailers, renting chippers, things like that. Even outreach events to get people to do the work is even a consideration. So, if you buy a pizzas or some tacos and put some publications out, that can be used for that too. But I'd say
it's not necessarily for hiring contractors. A lot of the residents that I talk to want to know if they're going to get paid to do this and through these grants, and I'm like, no, but it would pay for, like you're talking about, shredders and the like in my neighborhood, we use it to pay for the dumpsters. And then everybody just brings all their materials to the dumpsters. So, but anyway, I think there's some confusion about that. So that's why I was wondering if there's any way we could maybe put together more information on what specifically this money is going to, or not going to.
Heather just said things such as purchasing rocks to place next to homes, screening to cover vents, replacing flammable vegetation.
So would we
projects
actually
like
be allowed to give that money to homeowners to buy rocks? I mean, that's what I'm asking, is like, how does that
The
work?
logistics of it, yeah.
I'm sorry?
The logistics of using the money.
Yes, the logistics, yeah.
again, yeah, I think the application spells it out pretty clearly. So I don't know if I really want to try and reiterate it, but I would push back a little bit. We're not really paying for home hardening. Screens might be acceptable, but definitely not like roofs and siding and things like that. So.
Okay. I was just trying to tie it a little bit more to what you're doing, Melissa, with the 0 to 5.
Yeah. I think that like Kevin said, what I'm seeing from everybody is they're doing the things, they're putting it out there, right at the road, and then they're renting that chipper, or they're getting that piece of equipment or that dumpster to come through and do that. That's what I've been seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we are doing our bin rental program again, around Fire Creek, like we did this year.
Yeah, that's been really successful.
Yeah.
In my neighborhood anyway. Yeah.
Ours too, big.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, they're full.
Yeah.
And we had 5 last year when we filled them all. So.
And that's after goats, right?
I'm sorry?
And that's after goats.
That's after the goats.
I know, I'm telling you, stuff doesn't go away.
So Corinne, you said we're doing this. Who in the county is running the bin rental program?
Kevin and I, our
Okay.
natural resource program,
Okay.
we, used grant funding that we got from the Oregon State Fire Marshal.
Right. Anything else on grants, Kevin?
No, that's all I have. Again, if you have any specific questions on eligible projects, just have them contact me and we can.
Yeah.
I have a question for Kevin. Kevin? Is he
Yeah.
still there? Kevin, has the grant been approved for the Saddleback neighborhood this year?
Was that I think that was the one that Todd Peplin was working on. I'm not quite sure which grant you're referring to, but I know Todd Peplin with the Southern Deschutes Conservation District was trying to work with Oregon Department of Forestry on that area of putting a grant together. But other than that, I'm not quite sure what you're speaking with.
Well, I think, yeah, I've heard of that, and I talked to somebody quite some time ago about that. But this is the grant that we have gotten in the Saddleback neighborhood the last couple of years. And I think I talked to you quite some time ago, and you were gonna add dumpsters to that grant.
Okay, so yeah, those are the two grants that the county is providing right now. So we have our fall fuel reduction grant that we have open right now. And that is eligible for Firewise communities. I believe Saddleback was funded, I believe, last year on it.
Yes, we did.
Eligible, you can apply for that. And then we have a bin rental program. We ran it as a pilot program last year. We're gonna make it an official application this year. And that'll come
Right, okay.
early this winter, probably January. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, so I think that's everything with grants. So next is roundtable discussion and additional thoughts. Anybody have anything extra you want to talk about?
I have a couple things.
Okay.
Last night we did our Stonegate Community Firewise event. So it was me, I drove a fire engine out there. Austin from ODF showed up and Heather Miller from OSFM was there. And we just did a little table event and brought the truck out and the kids enjoyed the truck. And then there was actually, it was a small turnout, but the questions that were asked were, the content was great. There was some people were very, concerned, why are we becoming Firewise? What do we need to do? All these things. So it was very impactful for the people that were there. So it was a good event. And we've had that scheduled for a long time. So I'm glad we got to do it. And then upcoming events, Ben Fire's open house is September 28th, which is next Saturday from 10 to 1. And that's kind of our big open our doors so that you can bring kids. And I always say kids can play in the fire truck. And then I have, grown men saying, why can't I? So bring grown men too. I love that. They're always in there too. So we'll have a wildfire booth. So there'll be some things about that there. And then for next year, if you think of any other vendors that would like to join us at that fair, we're open for suggestions. But so that'll be fun. Airlink, thank you. Should be landing about 12:30 for kind of a cool demonstration too. So that is on the 28th.
What time again?
10 to 1.
And which firehouse?
Oh, might need the location. Yes, thank you. That's the North Fire Station off of Jameson, Station 305. Yep. And then we have Ben Fire's hiring a new fire inspector. So this is an additional inspector. There's 3 of us. We're hiring a 4th. So if you know of anybody, unfortunately it does close tomorrow. So if you're interested, call me, let me know. I'll help you if you have any questions. So yeah, we're hiring. We're excited about that. And then the last thing, which I think is kind of neat, that I wanted to let you guys know about because it will help this group. I'm going to be working with code enforcement a lot more in detail on the city flammable vegetation code. As you guys probably get questions, it's kind of vague. And they know that code enforcement knows that. I think in the beginning it was meant to be kind of vague, but that just doesn't suit us anymore with all the new state requirements coming in and code and stuff like that. And so we want to make the flammable vegetation code go with what the recommendations for NFPA Firewise, and then also what the state of Oregon is saying. Because right now, if you look at the flammable vegetation code, it says, and don't quote me, but if it's a less than a half acre, there can be no flammable vegetation on your property. Like that's not, that doesn't work. So we are gonna start working on more of a partnership with them to get that wording a little bit better. So I get a lot of questions from this group that are like, what am I supposed to tell these people when they ask me about the flammable vegetation code? It's in the works to be revised. So we're all gonna try to get that on one page. So that's a new project we're gonna do.
Is that a city code or county code?
It's a city code only. And so what that kind of does is for absentee homeowners, they don't do anything with their properties, they can be fined up to $750 a day. And since they, once they were notified until it's done. So if they were notified on the 1st of the month and they didn't get it done until the 30th, that's 30 days times $750. So that catches people's attention. So that's really good. But how does that work with Firewise, and home hardening and all these other things? And so we are working on more of a language, consistent language with that. So more to come on that. I think that's all I have.
So would that pertain to neighborhoods that have vacant lots and the lots are not maintained?
If they're in city limits, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and right now, I mean, the only way to make a complaint in the city is to go online to the city of Bend and then go to the code enforcement page. But like, we are all wanting more help. But there's only 4 code enforcement officers too. So it's hard to get to all those complaints. So yeah, hopefully this will be a little bit more consistent across the board and lighten their load a little bit.
Yeah. Great. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about?
Anyone online?
Okay, so with that, I guess we will wrap up and adjourn. So thank you very much for coming. We're 15 minutes early.
Wow, that never happened. Thank you. Yeah, right?
We'll keep talking about this workshop.
Yes, me too. I did not read the minutes from last month, so. Yeah, no, I love it. And actually Heather texted me and said she would help with it too. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Bye-bye.
For residents, even if they're.